You don't have boundaries, not because you're weak, not because you're a never-ending people pleaser or you're too shy, you don't know how to say no. All those reasons are not why you don't have boundaries. You don't have boundaries because you don't quite know what you need to protect. Think about it. Think about a safe with $1 trillion worth of diamonds in it. It has boundaries around it, right? I'm sure there's a wire fence, all kinds of alarms because they're aware of the value that that safe holds within it. So a lot of times we don't have boundaries or we find it difficult to say no and we're more prone to people pleasing, not because you're a weak person, but because you just haven't quite found what's super valuable or what you really stand for. So this video, I'm going to let you guys know some tips and some signs that you need to kind of know in order to make sure that your boundaries are intact. Number one, the first one being is know your values. What do you value? What's important for you? Is it family time? Is it peace after work? Is it your phone on do not disturb because you notice when people call you at certain times you get flustered? What is it that you really need in your life? What are your needs? What are your non-negotiables? If you're not familiar with those yet, definitely get familiar because that's going to act as a really very strong framework for you to start to really put some boundaries in place because now you'll start to see like, wait a minute. I notice that when this boundary gets crossed or when someone tries to come in between my family time, that's a hard no for me because I can tell how I feel in my body that I feel violated at that moment. So that's something that you need to protect. But sometimes we can't identify it like that. We just think we're irritable or we're getting annoyed or this person is so this. Not necessarily. We just didn't really have a boundary there. Right? So that's one way. Now, as I was kind of alluding to just a minute ago is you notice when you get flustered, right? The second way that you know you need a boundary in some place is you have to recognize your limits. If your boss is telling you, listen, I need you to stay for extra 2 hours, and your first thought is, oh my God, I can't. Now I can't do this. Now I can't do that. That's a boundary. Or if someone's asking something of you, telling you something, or maybe some sort of negativity, and you find yourself getting flustered or your blood pressure is raising, you getting hot, you're pissed off, you're ready to snap. That is a boundary that has been crossed. So many of us have boundaries sometimes and don't even realize that they're being crossed. But our body will let us know, which is why it's so important to understand how stress registers in our body, how anxiety registers in our body, how anger registers in our body, because they're all those signs that tell us this is too much for me. So what are your limits? When somebody crosses this, what does it cause in you? If it causes some sort of anger, if it causes anxiety, if it causes grief, that's a limit, and a boundary needs to be more enforced there so you don't get that upset, right? So number 3 for how you know you need a boundary is that most importantly, you're going to need to be able to identify your needs, right? And the difference between a need and a want is something that we should iron out as well, because wants is something that if it doesn't get met, we're okay. But a need, if my needs don't get met, like if I don't get water for the next 7 days, I'm out of here, right? So that's important that we know what our needs are. What are your needs? What do you require? And all of the other ones that I gave prior to this, like recognizing your limits and knowing your values, all give you the basis for what your needs are. So go over those things and you're going to start to see what you actually need. So that way you can start to enforce your boundaries more. Now, for many of us, because we are grown up and brought up to be people pleasers or to feel shy or to not want to hurt feelings by saying no and all those things, which is very understandable, I want to next give you some solutions or some ways that you can make sure that you enforce your boundaries. Now, the first thing, it might be a little bit hard, but this is something that I want you to do. It is a little challenging, but it can be done. The first thing I want you to do, be direct. No, I'm not going. No, I'm not doing it, right? Get comfortable with the word no. And guess what? No is a complete sentence. That leads me to my second point. I'm not over-explaining shit, okay? I'm not over-explaining anything. If it's no, it's no. So understand that being direct, not being shy, and not being vague about your boundaries are so important. If somebody says, hey, I want you to come to this basketball game with me, I think you would like it, and they're going to go by themselves otherwise if you don't go, so you feel even more inclined to go, and maybe you don't like basketball. Maybe you're going to be with your man or your woman that night. It's like, no, I can't. I already have plans. Oh, man, why can't you come? No, I can't. I already have plans. Maybe you can call somebody else or maybe a different time if you let me know in advance. Right? You see how easy that was and how natural that was and how firm that was, where somebody can't really argue with me. Because what we're not going to do is get into no argument around my boundaries. My boundaries are non-negotiables because, like we identified earlier, my boundaries protect what I need. They protect who I am, and they make sure that I don't get overly flustered and that I don't become overly stressed. So your boundaries are your lifesavers. So they need to be enforced directly. Right now, another way that you can make sure that you're enforcing your boundaries is to use I statements, right? Take ownership. You can say, I don't think that works for me, or it doesn't work for me. I have to do this instead. Take ownership. Because when you use words like we, or are you sure you wanted to do that? Because I remember we said this and we did that and you wanted to do this. We don't care about what we said, what you said, what they said, what it said. It's I. The only thing that matters right now is the fact that I ain't going. I'm not doing it. So use the word I. When you're starting to use the we's and the they's and the it's, things become more vague, and that's when people feel like they can step in and try to sway us or make us, kind of negotiate. This is non-negotiable. Okay, so take full ownership and use I statements. All right, the next way that you can help yourself set your boundaries and make sure that they are written in stone is start small, right? So if you can't say, no, I'm not coming to your wedding because I don't like your mammy and I don't like that man you get married to, right? Instead of that one, just yet, start small. Start with the littlest of things. So maybe if somebody, again, asks you like, hey, you want to go out? Sorry, I can't. Or even skip the sorry, because what am I sorry about? I would have loved to, but I already have this prior engagement. I hope you enjoy yourself, though. That's very helpful. That is very helpful, and it's small. It makes you kind of cringe a little bit because you're saying no, especially if you're not used to saying no or denying people. But you're going to start to see that it builds your confidence, because what you get to witness is that, guess what? The person you're talking to, the person you're saying no to, is an adult. They have resilience. People are stronger than we give them credit for. We always think that we have to think and feel and plan for other people. We don't. They are grown-ass men and women. They will be fine if you say no. They're going to forget about it. And you're going to start to understand that. And that's going to build your confidence to say no to that wedding I ain't showing up to. Okay? Because they was doing all that at that wedding. They should have kept that at that house. And you don't want to be involved in any of that. All right? So our next thing for how we're going to enforce our boundaries is prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for the pushback, right? So we talked about not being vague, being very direct. I can't do that. I have a prior engagement. Oh, why do you have a prior engagement? We should have went. It would have been nice. I would have enjoyed it, but I can't go. Oh man, why can't you do this with me? Shut your ass up. I'm not going. Right? So we have to be able to really enforce ourselves consistently. And that's where being direct comes in, because people are going to give us pushback, especially if you're just starting out and this is the beginning of you starting your no season, because you're saying no to you and you're saying no to them and yes to you for the first time on a consistent basis. Best believe you're going to get pushback. So prepare for it. So that way, when it happens, you're not caught off guard. But the best way to continue to assert your boundaries is to continue to be very direct. You could even say the same thing over and over again, because you're not listening, right? If somebody keeps asking me the same question and I keep giving you the same answer, you're not listening, right? So if I have to say the same thing 3 times, like, I told you I have a prior engagement. Oh, I can't. I told you I have a prior engagement. Oh, I can't. I have a prior engagement. I can't go. Oh, okay. And they'll finally stop. But you just prepare yourself so that you're not caught off guard. And the last way that you can make sure that your boundaries remain intact so that your needs are met is that you don't want to justify why you can't do this. That kind of is piggybacking off of no over explaining. But what we're also not going to do is justify why I can't. I'm not going to your wedding because I don't like your mom. I don't like that man you get married to. Your auntie is weird. Okay, she talks too much shit about people. I don't want to be around that negativity. The wedding is weird. We don't have to say all that. We can just say, I won't be able to make it. I have something else I have to do, or I won't be able to make it. It'll be a little bit too difficult for me to work that around. I'm bringing in a little explanation, I know, but I think for people who are just starting out, that is going to be sufficient because you're used to explaining and you're used to continuing to talk. But the way that you know that you're talking way too damn much is if you're giving them story as to why you can't go. If it's a one-liner, hey, I have work, or hey, I really need to get some things in order, I won't be able to go. That's all you got to say. Because really you could say no. You can just say no and flat out, and that's going to rub people the wrong way. But we're starting not to care anyway, right? So if they, oh, she just said no, she didn't give me no explanation. Sure didn't. Okay, and they need to start getting more used to you saying no and not saying anything to justify it. But let's say you're not there yet, we're not there yet. Because sometimes I don't just say no to my family members and they're like, I don't just be like, no. I'm not going to sit up here and lie. I will say something like, no, I have something to do on that day, but maybe I could see you on another day. I'll propose a solution or something different. And they usually leave me alone. Right? But when you're going into deep stories as to why you can't come, and yeah, I thought I was going to be available on that Tuesday, but instead, and your wedding's that day, and I didn't know what to do because we this and we that. No, that's over justification. And that's when people think that they could step in and change your mind. Right? So the more successful you get with it, the less you'll see people giving you pushback because they're realizing there's nothing to push back because Alyssa is serious this time. She's serious. I can't make her do anything. And that's the goal, right? We just want people to shut the hell up and leave us alone when we say no, or when we say anything around the no territory. Leave me alone. All right, so I hope that this video was something positive for you and something that you could really take away from. You know, I'm dropping these gems before I go to the gym as I drink my juice for my Gem and Juice series. And let me know down below if you have trouble saying no. And if you don't, let me know how you get around just directly saying no to your family without being overly offensive. All right. So if you are interested in all that, comment down below. Please subscribe. We're on our way to 1K. All right. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.